$10 an hour apprentice to $3 million portfolio by 24 years old, going into so much detail in the early stages how to set up for growth.
Dad getting up at 3 a.m. I saw that work ethic from my old boy.
Unpacking incomes, debts, portfolio value each step of the way. This episode, we talk with young gun Justin Bonello on how he scaled his portfolio from nothing over the past 5 years.
You either get paid for the decisions you made years ago or you pay for them.
Answering questions like how do you even get a mortgage on $49,000 a year?
My borrowing was capped at $555,000. I really spent the year educating myself. I had that realization I need to connect with an investment savvy broker.
Not just about the wins, we're opening up the challenges as well Justin had to overcome to keep growing his portfolio.
This is where the story takes a little bit of a change. These guys weren't the nicest tenants to have. Their property manager wasn't doing their job. So the garage door was smashed in, had to roll up the sleeves, come through and do all the works that I could.
And how doubling down on key habits and strategies made him a millionaire by the age of 24.
I had to shift the tune. What type of asset worked for me to get me to the next property? You need to be selective of who you do chat with, making sure that they've done what you're trying to achieve.
Putting deals together for instant equity and sharing how growth works at such a young age.
Picked it up for 446, it's worth about 500. You can't go down and chase cash flow specifically. If you're looking to build a scalable portfolio, you need a...
If you're in your early 20s, 30s, or 40s and want to know how to actually start a portfolio, the realities of what you need to earn, what you need to save, and the levers you can pull to accelerate portfolio growth, not from 20 years ago, but from a young man that's done it very recently, you're going to enjoy this episode. My name's Todd Sloan. This is the Pizza and Property Podcast, and this episode is powered by InvestorKit, Future-Proof Property Advisory, Property Developer Network, and Tradie and Partners. More about our amazing show sponsors in the show notes below. But right now, let's jump straight into this chat with Justin Bonello. Justin Bonello, good to have you here, man.
Todd, how we going, mate? It's great to be in Adelaide.
Yeah, man. We didn't turn the weather on for you today, though, so I do apologise. You've come in a pretty windy, rainy sort of day. But, mate, we're going to turn up the volume on your story, which is pretty impressive. We're going into pretty much the portfolio you built by the age of 24. You're 25 now, just ticked over?
That's correct, mate.
Otherwise, you are a hell of a saver. You've got some pretty cool stories as far as ups, downs, some tenants from hell that didn't stop you. You just kept pushing forwards. But you've also opened up so much detail. And I just want to quickly pause and say to everyone, we've had a few requests from people saying, can you open up even more detail in people's stories? A lot of the time it's just what people are comfortable with. Justin was like, man, I'm an open book. And he is. You're going to see this because we've gone into heaps of effort. Actually, I say he has gone into heaps of effort, pulling the curtain back years and years to 2019 when he very first started saving to really smash out this portfolio goal. But mate, is there anything you want to really set the stage with before we start unpacking your story?
That's it, mate. Well, it's been a hell of a journey over the past few years. And like you mentioned, mate, I'm an open book, so happy to unpack it. Yeah, break through.
My big focus with this is for any 20-something that's feeling like it's impossible, you're proof that not only is it possible to buy a home, it's actually possible to still build a portfolio. Now, can you take me back to 2019, saving a deposit? You're on, how much was $10 an hour or something to begin with?
Bringing it back to the beginning of my journey, started working at the age of 16.
Yeah.
$10 an hour back then. Yeah.
So what year was that? That wasn't 2019, that was
2016.
2016,
yeah.
Okay. And what were you doing?
An apprentice electrician. So started the working career then, worked through that.
Okay, so 2016 to 2019, you're already saving even though you're on $10 an hour?
Yeah, definitely. Lived a very, very frugal lifestyle.
And when you say a frugal lifestyle, so obviously at home with mum and dad because you're a teenager?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. But so friends are going out, partying on the weekend and you're sort of staying at home, being the guy that's not the funnest one to hang around, but you've got the vision, or why are you doing it?
I guess I can put a lot of the success back into mum and dad, and they really did instill some strong values in me from a young age. And I always have known the value of $1 from a young age. And so when I did get to that age of being able to go out, of course, everyone goes out and they try the new things, but I just realised that I got over it pretty quickly and save away and put the savings into there.
But you say mum and dad always instilled the value of $1. What's your first memory of thinking money's actually important? Is there a moment, a feeling, a person? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, like I said, mum and dad definitely did instill some good values in me, and a lot of it from the very beginning came from just saving pocket money. It might have been a couple of dollars each week to week. I realised that a couple of dollars didn't get you very far, and that I did have to save if I wanted to save up to grab something a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's really where it started out from that side. And just started saving away.
Brothers and sisters savers as well? Like all of you guys are the same? Or?
So I've got a younger sister, family of 4, mum, dad, myself, and my sister. Complete opposite. She's she's on the other spectrum, and she's always been a bit of a spender, whereas I've been the big saver.
So mum and dad are instilling some pretty solid financial savings values in you from a young age.
Yep.
So from 2016 to 2019, you're saving up. And this is what I really want to unpack. $135,000. Is that correct?
That's correct, mate. That's correct.
You know that's huge, right?
Huge numbers, yep.
Like any of your friends anywhere near that at that stage?
At that stage, no, not that I was aware of. And to be quite frank, I wasn't going shouting to the hills that I had saved this much. I did definitely keep my cards close to my chest. But yeah, around the age of 19, I had around 95,000 saved. To get me over the line, I actually parted ways with my beloved car that I had at the time. It was a Toyota Hilux. And thought this is going to get me over the line to save a bit of bigger deposit. So parted ways with that, and also a motorbike that I had at the time as well. Parted ways with that.
Why are you selling it all? Because this is like 19 years old, man. Like I was chasing girls and just drinking and having fun. Like I understand mum and dad are instilling some values in you, but like you said, your sister's a spender. So it's like, okay, there's the lesson that's potentially being taught to both of you, but you're taking it in one direction and it's been taken in a totally different for your sisters. And I don't mean this in a negative way to your sister. It's more so a perception. If you're a tradie, you're a young dude, you got a Hilux, you got a motorbike, that's a lot to give up. Like I wouldn't want to give that up now. Why?
It's been delayed gratification. Just realizing that if I want to have things later in life, that a little bit of short-term sacrifice now will reap pretty big rewards into the future. Again, from as young as I can remember, I always had my old man in the back of my ear, save that deposit, save that deposit. That was a goal that I'd always worked to from a young age. I knew that parting ways with those two things would get me closer to that goal of that first deposit.
And so mum and dad into property as well, or is that just the standard kind of mum and dad talk of you should buy a house?
No, so a lot of their support came from personal sacrifice on that side. Mum and dad were small business owners. From 20 odd years, I can recall dad getting up at 2:30, 3 in the morning, driving into the city for work.
Was he a baker or?
So they owned a wholesale food distributing business. So in the food industry, yes. But yeah, I saw that work ethic from my old boy. Yeah, just I knew discipline was the shortcut from that side. So while they could have gone out and had the extravagant holidays or invested in property, they decided to invest in their kids. And part of that was putting us through good schooling as well. And part of that was introduced to some new circles, some more affluent circles as well, and got exposed to a different sort of network where I could see where wealth could really pull you towards. And so to bring that back to myself, I just thought, I'll sacrifice a bit now and push forward to get that in the long term.
And this is what I'm trying to really hone in on. When did it change from I've bought the Hilux, I've bought the dirt bike to I'm actually going to sacrifice that?
Yeah, it was actually getting closer to that $100,000 mark, and it was when I started looking at a few different investment vehicles. So property was always at the forefront, and then I started looking at stocks and term deposits and realised that they were either too volatile or they're a little bit more passive than I would have liked. And I thought that I was getting pretty close to that 100K mark, and I knew that would get me over the line. So I thought, easy decision for me. I'll part ways and move forward with that. 2019, you're not buying though, but you've got all the savings there. It's the start of 2020, is that right? Correct. So 2019 had the deposit saved. I did what most young people do and lent on mum and dad for some advice. We started the search then, I guess. Beginning of 2020, I sat down with the local branch manager at one of the big four, ran some servicing numbers with him, and I realised that my servicing was going to be pretty tight as well. Originally was going to be an established purchase local. I just didn't have the price bracket for it. And through that time, chatting with the branch manager there, a new development site had popped up with some land releases.
And where's local for anyone that?
Northwest of Sydney. So about 20 minutes from home, a couple of new land releases had popped up. Mum and dad again started to suggest first property, let's go with a new build. It's going to be brand new. It's going to be low maintenance, and we'll go down that pathway. And so that's how the start of the journey really kicked off.
Okay, and so you're buying like a house and land package for the first one?
No house and land package. With my limited investing knowledge at the time, I did catch wind that the land and house package probably wasn't going to be the best idea, just because I knew that the developers had some built-in costs into that as well. And so what I ended up doing was purchasing the land by itself, seeking out a builder independently so that I could have a little bit more control over pricing without things being built into it. So the search began. There was a few new development sites getting pushed over. At that same time as well, COVID had just kicked off, so there was a lot of uncertainty in the market.
How was your certainty level?
Look, I knew that I had the financial capacity to jump into the market, and I also knew that there was never a perfect time to get into the market. So I thought I would rather just pull the trigger now. Again, looking back over history, I knew that the Australian property market had always gone up in value. So for me, it was just getting into the market and cracking in as soon as I could.
So it was a little bit of uncertainty, but only for a sec. It was like, may as well just go in because history tells me this is a good move.
That's right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the search began. As mentioned, there was a few developers that had been doing some land releases, all around the same price. Product was very similar. Block sizes were all quite similar. And as I mentioned, that COVID piece had just come into the mix as well. What we were doing was actually just driving from lot to lot between the developers there, and I almost played them off a little bit. So they were releasing blocks around that sort of 470K mark.
And that's what they're actually selling for? Or?
Yeah, actually selling for 470,000.
Okay.
COVID had sort of kicked in as well, uncertainty in the market, and basically was going between them, just saying, hey guys, your block's selling for X, this block's is selling for X, and end up negotiating with them pretty much, end up securing the block for $430,000. So a nice little discount on the way in.
Awesome. And so there's already comp sales of 470s. So whilst it's not the deal of the century, it's your very first deal. This must have been exciting as all hell. And you're already buying it under market value.
Yep.
Yeah, man,
Definitely.
love that. That's cool. And so from there, tell me the rest of this. How does this sort of unfold in terms of the build, the financing, and what were you earning at this stage?
I was earning just under $50,000 at the time as a third-year apprentice.
And how old are you again in 2020?
2020, I was just turned 20 years old.
Just turned 20 years old.
Yep.
Oh, it's easy to remember how old you are now. 20. Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Whatever year it is, you can follow along.
All right, easy. So yeah, tell me about the build, man. How did the finance come together?
When I sat down with the branch manager, my borrowing was capped max at $555,000. So they were the numbers that I had to play with. So picked up the block for $430,000. I had, over the past couple of months as well, I had also been researching some builders. So I connected with a builder as well and ended up pulling the trigger on a 4-bed, 2-bath, 1 car for a purchase of $245,000, if you can believe that.
$245 for the build.
Yep. So
fantastic.
Hindsight's one of those things. Looking back now, you can't even build a granny for that much now.
That's granny flat prices now.
Yeah, for sure. So it was just a very, very basic spec home. Didn't have many inclusions at all. Just kept it very basic from that side.
And so are you leaning on your sort of tradie connections at all in this scenario, or?
Yeah, definitely. And
How so?
I started cozying up to the builder as the build started going on, and obviously had the base sparkies come through and do the rough in. But I cozied up to the builder and asked the question if he didn't mind if I would pop through and do the cutout, and start adding in some extra things like extra PowerPoints and downlights throughout, just to make the property stand out a little bit more. And obviously had a huge cost saving there as well, without having their sparkies to rough in the extra there as well.
What do you reckon you saved?
Mate, it'd be in the thousands from that side, closer to the tens of thousands from that side.
When you're starting out and you're earning 50 grand a year, it's all adding up.
Yeah, definitely. And it did just give it that sort of little X factor as well, considering most of the homes in the area were just your stock standard spec homes. I had downlights throughout, your normal PowerPoints throughout as well, nice things like that. So obviously pulled on that lever, being in the trade. All
right, so the build's happening in 2020. This is sort of going into 2021 by the time it's finished though?
Yeah, correct. So originally the build was meant to be finished prior to December, but COVID had sort of pushed that timeline out a little bit, and we end up pushing into the beginning of 2021. And
you're lucky, really. How many people ended up having like almost 3-year build timelines during that?
Yeah, definitely. I've heard a lot of horror stories. I got a little bit lucky there as well.
Big time, yeah. Okay, and so as far as like portfolio value at this stage, so your wage in 2021 is still at the start of 2021 is still 50 grand, or I think we've actually got down here, like I said, he's done a lot of work on this, $49,400. It's not big bickies. You've now got a rental income of $30,680. So you've got a tenant in there.
Yep.
So how much was that per week?
About $590 a week.
$590 a week. All right. And as far as portfolio value and debt position?
Yeah, so all in on this one, I was around for about $690. I guess on completion, it would have been worth around that $700K mark. And debt position against this was around $535,000.
All right. So savings gone down a bit. They're at around what, that $20K mark?
Less than that, mate. I really did scrape the barrel to get into this. I remember saying to mum and dad at the time, geez, we've only got a couple grand left on hand. And part of that was the build had actually finished, but none of the landscaping had been done yet, because obviously that's the last part, and I just didn't even have the funds to pay proper trades to come through. So that's when I had to roll up the sleeves, jumped on the excavator as well, moving dirt around.
Yeah, it's good fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is good fun. So yeah, did all the retaining myself, landscaping, grass, planting, all of that as well, just to save a bit of coin, fencing as well. But yeah, it really did scrape the barrel to get in, and pretty well all funds were introduced to this.
And how are you doing this? Like on the weekends, like after work? When's it getting done?
Obviously, I didn't want too much downtime after the build, and so I believe at the time I did take a few days off. Also had a few helping hands from family as well. Just smashed it out.
You're really doing whatever it takes. You're saving like a madman, and I know that your savings shoot up again very quickly.
Yep.
And you're doing all of the work yourself when you can't afford it. You're coaxing friends and family in somehow. What are you, like cutting a beer barbecue sort of thing, or are you cashing in a few IOUs?
Yeah, cashing in a few IOUs, and I think I still need to cash them in.
And so as far as the rest of 2021's concerned, you pretty much take a knee as far as buying anything else? Or like how does the rest of the year unfold?
Build finishes early 2021, tenants in straight away. When I finished it up, it was awesome. It was a very proud moment. I'd just done the first build. It was a new product as well. I would say that most people are emotionally attached to their first purchase, and I definitely was. Given that it was somewhat local as well, I would drive by and have a look at it from time to time. Yeah, so what I ended up doing was giving the branch manager that I had originally engaged with, gave him a bell back and said, mate, what are my options moving forward? And he pretty much just laughed me off the phone at the time, and he said, mate, your salary hasn't increased by this much at all, if any. You pretty much max yourself out at this stage. Come back to me in a year's time. And so,
was he like a gun and he was just that was the situation, or was he a bit like, whatever, you're in the too hard basket? Like what was the relationship there?
I think it was a bit of both. Again, he was somewhat local to home and didn't have any broker connections at the time, and just waddled into one of the big four there and had the conversation there. Yeah, it was a bit of a too hard basket, and mate, you're pretty much done. Come back to me in a couple of years' time. So that was a super big catalyst for me, because I was wondering how people are starting to build beyond 1, 2, 3 properties, and that's when I really started to take an interest in learning how to build this out.
I want to jump in for 2 secs, and just if you're listening to this right now and you're like, this sounds familiar, I'm identifying with exactly what Justin's saying. I just want to point out that if you had actually listened to that person who, again, you didn't say like some schmuck there. It's like, it's the branch manager. It's someone that I think from where a little bit of a chat you and I had before was someone that was pretty highly referred. They were like well respected. Yep. They're not someone that's an idiot. They're just someone that in their lane, with the restrictions that they've got for their lender, they were telling him the truth. It's like, yeah, no, actually you were capped out. But it doesn't mean that Justin was capped out completely. But the thing that I really want to leave you with though is that if you didn't actually take the bull by the horns and go, wait a second, I don't like that answer. Let's start finding out how I can keep moving forward. Other people have done this, so surely it's doable. You and I wouldn't be sitting across from each other today. And I just feel like it's such an important thing to, if you hear the words no in terms of lending, it doesn't always mean no. Most of the time it means, I don't know, talk to another broker. And that's exactly what you've done. So you then went and found a broker that was like, okay, no, here's more of a plan. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. And the caveat to that was there was a bit of truth to that. And it was a realization for me is that I couldn't go down the path of buying land and building again, because it just wasn't feasible to build on, especially given the income that I was on, quite a low salary. I had to shift the tune and work out what type of asset would actually work for me to get me to the next property, and then from there to build on. After having the chat with the branch manager there, the narrative was to hang out in the market for a while. And so that's exactly what I did. Obviously I went away and started doing my research on how to build on this. This is where the story takes a little bit of a change as well for this first property. With that frugal mindset as well, when I was getting the property tenanted out, I had a friend of a friend who owned an agency, and part of that was that they obviously had a property management division tacked onto the side of that as well.
Okay.
It was a bit of a mates rates situation. They were offering 2 to 3% lower than everyone else on property management, and I thought, geez, this is going to be an awesome saving for me. Why don't I go down this path instead?
Can see where this is going.
Yep. And so had the tenants in there. Unfortunately, the tenants that were placed in there weren't the right fit. So the first red flag was that the property manager did no vetting. The first application they got in were the first tenants that they end up popping through on this one.
How bad are we talking?
These guys weren't the nicest tenants to have. Over the year, their property manager wasn't doing their job, to be quite frank. Rentals reports and things like that.
What do you mean, like just not doing them, or they're half-assed?
Not really doing them. So they weren't carrying them out on a regular basis. They weren't going out to the property. So the tenants were basically just self-reporting. self-reporting, and as the tenants were self-reporting, they were hiding things as well.
Self-reporting. Now, just to quickly jump in, because this is 2021 we're talking, was this because of COVID? Because that was a bit of a thing then.
It was a bit touch and go for a while, but it led on for longer than it should have.
Okay.
And so, yeah, they were self-reporting, videoing through the property, hiding things, and me being sort of attached to this property as well, I was occasionally driving by and just seeing things on the outside of the property piling up, and it wasn't towards the later end of the year where they made a request, and I thought at the next inspection I'm going to pop across and have a look at this.
Yeah.
And so I rock up, and mate, from the moment I opened up the front door, the property was in shambles.
How bad?
Mate, it was pretty bad. Starting from the front, the garage door was used as a stopper for every time they would drive up the driveway. So the garage door was smashed in. The front door had been smashed into. I don't know what the story there was. Every wall throughout the property either had holes in it, hands along it.
So you're doing a proper feral.
Proper feral. Running a business out of there as well, a beauty business. So the carpets in all the rooms had wax and things all on them. They had multiple animals in the property. So there was grass, droppings. It was not nice, mate. The countertops they were using looked like as beer bottle openers. Tiles were cracked in some of the bathrooms. The backyard was demolished. It was just not a good state. And
I'm just picturing a young lady walking in there for a wax right now. That doesn't sound like the kind of place you'd want to go for a beauty treatment.
No, definitely not, mate. And I don't know what business they were running out of there, but mate, it was not pretty. And
maybe they were waxing the farm animals.
Yeah, mate. And first purchase, and especially a brand new build too.
You would have felt horrible,
mate. It was so disheartening at the time.
And you're 21 years old.
Yeah, 21 at the time. There, yep.
20. So did this end up being an insurance job for you? How'd you fix it?
Yeah, so look, I waited out. So we obviously moved these guys on just with the state of the property. Obviously the bond can only cover so much at that point.
Because what was your bond, a couple of grand?
Yeah, a couple of grand. It barely covered anything. And so I looked at the path of going through insurance, but the downtime was just going to be too big on having trades come through, organising it, and then actually carrying out the works. And so I wanted the least downtime as possible. And so again, had to roll up the sleeves and come through and do all the works that I could. Again, we were talking about a brand new property that had only been built for about a year, going through a full repaint, patch, backyard getting cleaned up. I was doing a bit of tiling in some of the rooms as well, fixing up the countertops, redoing all the landscaping again, only a year on from when I'd previously just done it.
I've got to ask, Justin, why'd you keep going? Because so many people at that stage would just be like, this property stuff is rubbish. No, I'm not doing this again. Tenants are terrible. Like, let's sell it, let's go. Like when I used to sell property, I would sell situations like this. We'd clean them up, we'd move them on, and people would be like, I'm going to go and buy shares.
Yeah.
Why did you keep going?
Yeah, this was actually a big moment in my journey, and I realized that I started to have to pull the emotions back and pull any sort of attachment against it. Yes, this was the first purchase, but I realized that building a portfolio shouldn't have any emotions attached to it.
But how are you realizing this? You're 21 years old. That's a head that's more mature than the shoulders that it's on.
It was over that year as well. Again, just educating myself on actually building portfolios, and again, pulling bits and pieces from online mentors, as I like to call them, pulling out things that were of value. And one of those big factors was not being emotionally attached to it. And so again, that was a big shift. I realized, even though it is local, to stop driving by it, put a good property manager in place who is actually the one who protects your asset and takes care of it, and got that in order, and then realized get it back up to tip top, and get a tenant that is going to respect the property, and then move along that way and keep it going along.
For anyone that wants more detail on the property management side of things, what's one takeaway that you can give everyone listening right now that's thinking, I don't want to employ a PM that's going to do that? What's the biggest takeaway that you've got from that experience that you can give to everyone right now?
Biggest takeaway is you pay for what you get, especially with property management. It is definitely one of the hardest jobs out there in real estate. They definitely don't get paid enough from that side. One of the hardest jobs out there. They're getting pulled from left, right and centre all the time, and you do want to vet them, and you want to make sure that they've got an amount of rentals on hand that they can obviously deal with. And then from that side is that they're actually carrying out their job. So the beginning of the relationship, you might have to stay on top of them just to see how they operate and that they are actually doing things. But yeah, the biggest thing, you pay for what you get, and definitely do not cheap out on property management, because they are the ones who take care of your asset. They'll be your right-hand man.
I think that's very wise words, mate. Anything else we've got in 2021 before we move into 2022?
That's it.
Okay, so what's going on with your wage? Because there was one thing that you told me before about a bit of a joke in the office I say the office
On site.
On site. There we go. On site. Was every 6 months like clockwork? You're knocking on the boss's door.
Yeah. So everybody knew that. It was literally like clockwork. 6 months to the date. I had it in my own diary. My boss had it in his diary. Not that he would ever bring it up, but I was always the one to bring it to the forefront. I would come for 6 month sort of reviews on the salary. Look, mate, I was doing huge hours. I was putting in the work. There was no reason for them to ever say no to me. And
so you're a good employee.
Yeah, mate, they met me at the table every single time. So I would go to them every 6 months, plead my case on why I was worth more and what reasoning was behind it. We would work through something and negotiate. Yeah, I would come through with a bit of a bonus every 6 months on that side.
How'd you learn how to negotiate it?
It was just something that I've always been quite forward with. And later on as well, I started, again, carrying out some DD on negotiating and things like that. A great book that I read was Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Yeah,
awesome
just took some
book.
learnings from that. Yeah, use that to my advantage.
Yeah, I've got down here that you upped your wage then through negotiating with the boss from $49,000 to $69,160 a year.
Yep.
Yeah, and we went through pay slips before, and again, you guys have asked for more detail. Justin, you're bringing it, man. Thank you for this. Now, your rental income at the stage has gone up from $30,680 to $33,800. Correct?
Yeah, so I got the right tenants in there and paying the right rent, and basically with a new property sitting there at hand again.
Got it. Okay. And so your savings position, you're starting to slowly save a little bit more money in the start of 2022. But otherwise, what's happening for the rest of the year? Yeah,
2022 was a big pivotal point again, just with education. It was really knuckling down and trying to pull out how am I actually going to get this next purchase together. And part of that was obviously trying to connect with like-minded professionals who are going to be able to jump on board the team. And this is where I had that realization that I need to connect with a broker, and not just any broker, an investment savvy broker, one who had personally built their portfolio and then works with clients who have built large portfolios as well. So I really spent the year educating myself. I didn't want to rush the process, and then trying to connect with the right professionals.
I feel like it's almost this like cliche throwaway saying now, an investment savvy broker that's built their own portfolio. Like, but it's so true.
Yeah.
If you're going to like Dave down the road, sorry if your name's Dave, and Dave just always seems to be my reference name, but and you're a broker that writes great loans. Cool. But writing a loan and building a portfolio, as you're now realizing in around that sort of 2022, two completely different things.
Yeah, the simple reality is that property is a game of finance, right? And you need to keep the banks happy, right? They're the ones that are going to be loaning you your money. A lot of people paint the banks as these evil guys, but mate, they should be your best friend along the journey, because they are the ones that are going to be fueling your property portfolio. And so you want to align with someone who not only is investment grade, but also has access to multiple lenders and can pair you with the right structure and finance moving across as that.
And speaking of structures as well, talk to me about structures. This all in your personal name? You're setting up company trusts, anything?
Yeah, so at this point, keeping it in the personal name. This wasn't something that I had been introduced to at this point, keeping it really simple at that time as well.
All right, so for the rest of 2022, you're basically letting the market do its thing.
Yep.
You're slogging your guts out at work. Now, what I've got in front of me here for the start of 2023, your savings has basically gone up from around $20,000 to $100,000. You're earning at this stage, you've negotiated your wage up again to $82,000. The numbers aren't working here, man. How is this happening?
Yeah, so basically over that 2-year time frame, again, just being super, super frugal, super disciplined, and basically trying to save every single dollar that I could over that time frame. Nights out and things like that were taking a back seat. I understood that saving was going to get me into a better position. Apart from working my huge hours, which was 60, 70 hours, and carrying out a lot of overtime, I've never been one to sit still on the weekends and in my spare time. For me, sitting down over a 2-day weekend isn't something enjoyable. And so again, from a young age, I've always had projects on the side. Over the years, I'd been into flipping things, whatever I could get my hands on, whether it be furniture, boats, dirt bikes, anything like that. And so I'd be chasing things locally, whether they'd be on the side of the road or even on marketplace, picking up cheapies and then putting a little bit of money into them and then flipping them. Yeah, it was a kind of good process.
How many of these are you doing?
Mate, over the years, there would have been tens of thousands in profit from that side, to be honest, mate. Yeah, they were quite lucrative.
What's the best one that comes to mind?
A couple of neighbours that I'd actually touched base with and picked up some free boats.
Free boats?
Free boats.
Okay.
Just
you talking about like a tinny?
Yeah, little dinghies, little tinnies. Maybe they weren't running so well, or just old, had been sitting in the shed. And I thought, geez, I'll take them off your hands, and picked up a couple and put a couple $100 into them and sell them for a couple grand. Made upwards of $6 or $7 grand per dinghy or tinny that I was doing some work on. So
dude, that is so good.
Yeah, it was pretty lucrative, man.
And again, is this like mum and dad sort of gave you this idea? This is something you saw on TikTok? Like, where did this come from?
I always just like staying busy on the weekends. They would start off as little projects, just keeping me busy, and I enjoyed doing them. I've always been someone who's been really hands-on and liked being outside. I've never been one cooped up inside watching TV or playing video games all day. So yeah, it was just down in the shed every weekend, working from that side, keeping busy.
And are you single throughout this whole process, or you got a partner that's like super understanding? Because
partner from early 2021, 2020, around that sort of time frame. Yeah, keeping a bit of an arm's length from the investing side. Again, it's a huge decision to get someone like that on board straight away, and she was obviously quite nervous at the time as well, and so I wanted to show the process throughout.
I'm not talking about the investing, dude. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm talking about the fact that you're just always doing, because like I'm a doer. I get it. And like Bianca and I right now, awesome. Partners beforehand, they didn't get it.
Yep.
Like when I was younger, it was just like, could you slow the hell down and just like, can we just go out and watch a movie or do whatever? What's your other half's name?
Cheyenne.
So is Cheyenne just as like do as you?
She's pretty driven as well and had a pretty good work ethic as well. And so
you're not pulling her along; she's by your side.
No, I would pull her along, and I always liked the company. And it was more so watching at a distance. Okay. Yep. She might be reading a book off to the side, but she was always by the hip, and I was carrying out the works myself.
In a positive way, though, like in a she's supporting you.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. Yep.
Okay. And you might be wondering, if you're listening, why am I drilling into this? But I just feel that a partner that's actually supportive, when you're obviously as driven as you are, Justin, makes all the difference. Because if you've got someone that's constantly like, oh, you're not doing that again. Oh, why are you doing that? You can succeed. Absolutely. I know some very successful people with partners that are not supportive, but it is so much easier when you've got a partner that Cheyenne doesn't need to get her hands dirty fixing up furniture with you.
Yep.
But just being there, man, that's, sounds like you got a winner.
That's it. Yeah. 100%, man.
So 2023, you've now flipped boats. What was it? Motorbikes, furniture.
Yeah, they were the three big items.
Anything you're getting your hands on that's looking a bit rough, you're making it look pretty, flipping it for a profit.
Yep.
You got 100 grand in savings, and now we've got rental number one into the start of 2023, but it's about to turn into a few rentals very quickly, because I've got here that you've pulled out, is it $250,000 in equity?
Correct. So early 2023, I had the first property revalued. So keeping in mind, I was all in for about 690, worth about 700 on completion. And a couple of years later, had a val in $1,050,000.
Got to be happy with that.
Very happy, mate.
Yeah, man.
Very happy.
Did you do anything to celebrate?
Not quite, to be honest. It was carry out the val. It was nice to see that it had obviously gone up in value from that side, and then it was getting back to business. Obviously, over this time as well, I'd finally found my right broker and connected with him. Moved out a bit of a game plan on how we're actually going to build this out. The equity release there was the ticket to get to the next property.
So your equity release is $250,000. Now, if you're playing along on YouTube right now, if you're on iTunes or Spotify, you can't see this, but you'll see that the debt position has actually gone up from 535 to 785, because equity, realistically, equity is debt.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of nuance here, and we've got a fantastic episode with Jeremy Unizelli if you want to understand equity in more detail. I'm sure we'll have it linked below. But right now, to keep this all on track, your debt position is going up to 785. Portfolio value currently at that stage before purchasing, $1,050,000.
Correct.
And you're about to take this cool $250,000 plus $100,000 savings, and you're about to reinvest again.
Yep, and about to same roll. And so
talk me through the next one.
Yeah. So pulled out the $250,000 cash. Obviously was working with a broker at hand, and serviceability was very tight at hand as well. I began the process of trying to research markets, connect with agents, and carrying out 60, 70 hours work through the week makes it quite hard to connect with agents. Yeah. And I had this realization, and I knew it was going to be time to expand out the team. And part of that was getting a buyer's agent on hand who could carry out the legwork for me. And so in early 23, connected with a BA, got them on board, and basically gave them the budget. We were originally looking for a purchase around that 450 mark. Again, moving through COVID, the big four were being quite slow with turnaround times on getting lending back. And
I remember that.
My broker got back to me, and he's just like, mate, with your tight serviceability, these banks taking a long time to get back to us. We weren't sure if it was going to get past the credit team. And so what ended up happening was ended up landing on the second property in the Townsville market for a purchase price of $270,000. And we refigured the plan about moving ahead. I couldn't get lending on any other cash. The serviceability that I had pulled out basically shot my serviceability.
From the equity extraction?
Yeah. So again, for people who don't realize, is that anytime that you are pulling out equity, it's obviously more debt that you are taking on, and that does affect your serviceability and your borrowing. So that 250 pretty much exhausted me at the time. I had very little left over and ended up pulling the trigger on that purchase for $270,000. So what I essentially did was make a cash purchase in the eyes of the seller because we had the funds there ready to go, had very tight terms, and it obviously worked to our benefit. Bought below market there as well, and that was worth about $300 on purchase.
Fantastic, mate. And whereabouts is this?
In Townsville, in the Townsville market.
In Townsville market.
Yep.
So mid 2023, you're purchasing for $270,000, and it's a 3-in-1, 4-in-2. What's the?
Yeah, it was a 3, 1-in-1.
All right, so it's a 3-in-1. I've also seen down here. So your wage has now gone up. Is that right? You've renegotiated again, but this is before or after, or when?
So just after.
Just after.
We pushed forward with the purchase in Townsville, $270. And then again, gun-ho, I'd gone straight back to the broker and said, mate, what are my options moving forward? He basically sat down with me and said, look, we're really tied up in serviceability now. You've taken on a fair bit of debt. You've obviously got the 2 assets there. Moving forward, if we want to move this quickly, your next option is if you can get a salary increase. So it was worked out middle of the year as well. Time to go back to the boss and renegotiate. And that's where I sat down again and pleaded my case, and taking a leaf out of Chris's book, Never Split the Difference. I had started up a little bit higher than where I initially wanted for my salary. And my broker had told me I needed $100,000 to be able to get any serviceability moving forward, and ended up settling on $104,000 as a new salary.
Amazing. All right. So you got $104,000 a year coming in now.
Yep.
At this stage, so there's about $785,000 worth of debt.
Correct.
Okay, we're roughly a $1.35 million portfolio, and this is mid 2023.
Yep, middle 2023.
Okay, and so you've got 1 property in New South Wales, 1 in Queensland.
Correct.
And we're talking still some reasonable savings in the account there. Is there anything else as far as like lessons, learnings, downfalls, high moments, anything else you want to touch on with 23?
Yeah, leading into this purchase, again, parents obviously in the corner there as well, and obviously letting them know that I'm going to have to go interstate. I'm going to have to change tune of how I am investing. I've come from doing a new build to now going regional to a market that I'd never been to, never stepped foot into, at a purchase price that in the 200s no one really thought was possible at that time as well. And so, mate, there was again, seeking advice, I learned that you need to be selective of who you do chat with. And a lot of the time, people who are giving negative connotations and things like that, yes, they might have your best interests at heart, but the reality is they're projecting their own fears onto you. And this is where I realized that you need to be selective of who you do chat with, and who you are chatting with is make sure that they've done what you're trying to achieve, because if they haven't, then it's very hard for them to give advice on from that side. And there was a lot of negative feedback around that from friends and family. Why are you going out there? You've never been there. Why are you taking on so much debt? Why are you buying a property in the $200,000 price point? It's never going to grow. So, I realized that mindset was a big shift as well, and you had to be resilient with that.
How did you get that resilience though? Because you're at this stage, 23 years old. Don't get me wrong. I know when you're 23, it's not like you're 15 years old. You've lived a bit. You've got a bit of a head on your shoulders. You've got some experience. But if you've got everyone around you that's a loved one that you respect their opinion going like, oh, Justin, I'm just concerned for you, mate. Like, oh, this price point, what do you mean, Townsville? How are you going, no, actually, I'm backing myself?
Yeah, it was actually falling back onto the professional network that I'd started building around myself. So accountant, mortgage broker, seeing what these guys had done, building their portfolio over time, and they are people who had actually walked the talk, right? And so started pulling out nuggets of gold from those guys and really leaning on them for advice as well on how to move forward. And I knew that this next purchase was going to position me for the next property.
So you're basically looking at everyone around you going, okay, I know you got my best interests at heart, but you haven't actually done this. Yeah. And I've built a network of people that have done this. Yeah. I'm going to listen to the coach, not the cheer squad.
That's exactly right. And just start blocking out the noise.
Love it.
And yes, listening to them, saying, okay, great. But obviously
just kind of smiling, nodding.
Yep.
Yeah. And that is such a hard thing to do, especially with actually, I was going to say some cultural background, but I think anything really, like mum and dad saying, no, auntie, uncle, whoever, that as long as you hold their opinion in high regard, being able to actually do what you did, man, that's a big thing. And it's obviously one of the big things that's actually got you to where you are today. But if we're moving forward to the start of 2024, what's changing now? Is your wage going up again, or are you?
No. I pretty much maxed myself at that point.
Okay.
A few negotiations were trying to come into the table, but yeah, 104 was where I was at.
All right. So from the end of 2023, things really start gaining a bit more momentum. And this is actually something that I think I want everyone to really understand at home as well, is that your first purchase, generally you kind of take a knee for a little while. It depends on your situation. Sometimes you can just go hell for leather and buy 3 straight out the gate. But a lot of the times you buy one and then you're waiting for a little bit of equity, or you're forcing a bit of equity on it. But then by the time you've gotten to 2 rentals, and then you're starting to refi, what is it, the end of 23, 24? How's that working?
Yeah, back end of 2023.
Yep.
And obviously with that new pay increase there, my serviceability had jumped up a little bit. And so what I was able to do was actually release some of the funds from the Townsville property. And so I refinanced back up to an 80% LVR, which worked out to be around $216,000 worth of cash. And boom, that was my next 2 deposits for the next 2 properties.
Are you celebrating then?
Not quite then.
I'm terrible. It's the whole reason I'm asking. I never celebrate, and I've been told that I really need to start. I'm curious to see if anyone else actually does take a moment.
It was happening so quickly. It was just like, go.
Yep.
And so cracking into early 2024, I simultaneously did 2 purchases straight off the bat because I had the deposits ready to go.
Talk to me about these 2. So you've got one in New South Wales, one in Queensland. Where are these next 2?
So next one lands us in central Queensland, the Rockhampton region. And in that same week, another purchase over in the Peel region in Mandurah over in WA.
And what kind of price points for each of these?
So the Rockhampton deal was a purchase of $285,000 and the one over in WA was for $380,000.
All right, so debt-wise, by the start of 2024 now, you're talking about being about $1.5 million in debt, correct?
Yep.
Okay, but around 2.1 in asset value.
Correct.
So you're 24 years old and you've essentially made yourself $500,000.
Yeah, and at a pretty healthy LVR as well.
That's pretty cool. How have you done this on a $100,000 wage?
Yeah. So obviously the $100,000 wage there was just the set salary for the year. On top of that, I was working huge, enormous hours through the week. So lots and lots of overtime on the side.
Yep.
Obviously dripping in a little bit of the flips along the side there as well, and then carrying out some of my own work.
So you're just non-stop?
Non-stop. Working huge hours through the week, 60, 70, even some longer weeks than that. But it was full on. Did
you ever reach a little burnout point and go I need to take a knee, or?
Yeah, again, I think the biggest thing when you are starting to build out your portfolio, number one is to have a reason why you're actually doing it. And then number 2 is to have a goal, right? And those 2 things do really keep you on track. You can have a goal, but if you don't have a reason why you're actually building out the portfolio, it makes it very hard to put it into perspective of, again, why you're actually doing this. And so for me, again, it was never an obsession with money itself, but it was what money allowed you to do. And that was really to buy back your time. And building a portfolio was building towards something that a paycheck or a job could never do. And so again, it came back to that delayed gratification piece. I would much rather work a little bit harder in my 20s so that I could reap the reward in my 30s, 40s, and so on.
And I think a great way to think of it, and I was explaining this to my dad the other day, and just listening to you talk now, it sounds like this is very fitting for yourself as well, is you think of a plane on the runway, and if the plane's going to take off successfully, it needs to go real fast. And it doesn't need to go real fast for a little bit and then slow down, because then that plane's not taking off. And then once you have taken off, you still need to make sure that you've got some good speed to actually get up to that cruising altitude. Once you're at cruising altitude, all of a sudden the throttle comes back, you're in a jet stream, things are going nicely. So right now, it sounds like your wheel's up. Like you're taking off, but I'm not high enough that I can turn around. I can't quite slow down if I want to.
That's it.
I still want to get to where I'm going. I've got to get to that cruising altitude. So I'm going to put in all the effort now. I'm going to front load all of that effort to make sure that I can just start cruising at 35,000 feet soon.
That's it. And someone told me this and it's really stuck with me, and it's you either get paid for the decisions you made years ago or you pay for them.
Oh, that's good. Who's that?
I can't remember who it was, and it's stuck with me for some time. I've always had the mentality of that discipline and delayed gratification and putting in the hard yards now so that you can reap the reward later on.
All right, so tell me about these purchases. Was there anything that was a little bit different, any kind of extra works needing to be done?
Yeah, both of these purchases going into it knew that I had to carry out some works. So the Rocky deal mainly needed a re-stump. That was a big one on there. Kitchen, bathroom, internal repaint. There were definitely some works to get carried out on it. On purchase, I knew it was a good buy regardless of the works. It was worth about $300 on purchase, and then on completion of works was roughly around that sort of $330 mark for the Rocky deal. For the WA deal, again, that just needed a cosmetic freshen up throughout as well, so carried out both those.
Are you still like rolling up your sleeves and you're like flying over there doing this, taking time off work?
Not on these two ones, just with the scope of work. Again, logging up all the tools and again, stumps and things like that. It was just out of my bandwidth to carry out.
Yeah, especially re-stumping.
Yeah.
You want to get that one right.
Huge job. And they weren't small ones either. It was a high set elevated one to where you could drive a car underneath it. So
oh yeah, man, you definitely want to do that right.
Yeah, couldn't do it. Yep. And so much so that the whole property was actually uneven. And so when we did get it re-stumped, it caused a whole lot more problems. So that actually pushed the kitchen out of whack, which then had a bit of a flow-on effect of carrying out other works.
That is actually such a good point. That one of our rentals, it's just got this slight little bit of a drop to it, and I actually got a guy around, and that was literally the advice that he said. And he was like, I can fix this for you, but I'm going to create other problems for you. And he's like, it's not actually that bad. You'll probably still get anywhere between 5 and 20 years, depending on the soil. So just in case if you do have a little bit of a lean, like 100%, make sure you're getting a few opinions, because like Justin experienced, sometimes fixing a problem can actually create some other big problems as well.
Yeah, this was definitely warranted though.
Had to be fixed?
Yeah, stumps were sitting on by a couple mil in some spots. So it was really bad. But again, I knew that going into it, and I had a buffer there for these works to be carried out.
Got it. Okay. So this wasn't a nasty surprise.
No.
Okay. All right. And any of this that's happening as well, also adding value, or is this just kind of all getting it to zero? Or?
No, definitely adding value on top of it as well. And then again, going from, early 60s sort of kitchens to new sort of kitchens as well, and carrying out some cosmetic refreshes throughout.
All right, so talk to me about mid-2024. What's changing there?
Yeah, so 6 months had passed on, back to the broker, having conversations again, seeing what levers I can pull in the portfolio. Carried out some more vals, and again, these were in very strong growth markets. I'd obviously forced some equity on it as well, and so got some vals carried out, and they turned out pretty well as well.
Awesome. So I've got down here that it's gone from essentially 2.116 at the start of 24 to 2,616,000. That's fantastic.
Some huge equity gains.
And so your debt at this point is 1.867.
Yep.
As a 24-year-old, you're looking at 800-ish thousand. Celebrating yet?
Not quite.
Oh, mate, you're kicking some serious goals. Okay, and we're not done yet. So from here, this is where you're pulling out some extra equity. So now you're raising the debt up to just under 2 million. Is that right?
Yeah. So going back to the portfolio, pulling levers on Townsville, Rocky, and then the Mandurah property as well, pulling what equity I did have there, and then went again on the hunt myself and started scouting again. All
right, so you cashed up. How many more boats and everything you flipping? Anything more, or is that sort of come back down?
Yeah, the flipping is taking a bit of a backseat at that point. Really focusing on carrying out as many hours in the trade as possible. So by mid-2024, you've pulled $114,000 of equity out. Your debt position now is, again, you've done so many numbers here, man, so 1.981500. Portfolio value, $2,616,000. And you're about to then move into rental number 5, mid-2024. Went on the scout again and picked up another deal over in the Rockhampton region. This one was a little bit of a hairy deal. I remember the agent sent it across to myself, and I was having a look at it. It was a deceased estate, and the property was just in shambles, and I put an offer in on it, and the agent actually gave me a call, pretty unusual, and she goes, are you sure you want to pay that much? Like, the property is not in a good state. I was confident. I knew the market like the back of my hand, and I knew it was a good deal even as is, and pushed forward with the purchase. So had an original offer of $456,000. I knew there was some works to be carried out, so I was going to lean on that through the inspection reports, got those carried out, and managed to knock off another $10,000, so secured it for $446,000. And this one, you're getting yourself as well? This isn't through a BA or? Yeah, through myself, yep. All right, so you're buying this yourself now. So and why take the leap for yourself? Because like, I'm assuming you're not all of a sudden sitting on the couch eating Doritos, got a whole bunch of time up your sleeve. What made you think I can do this now? For me, it just wasn't the pace of moving forward as quickly as I wanted to. And I realized that I needed to regain that control and get back into the market. I could see that these strong growth markets were moving very, very quickly. Again, my serviceability was tight for every single purchase I made, and I couldn't be sitting on the sidelines for 5-6 months while these markets were moving, because again, it was huge. We were seeing double-digit growth in all of these markets in that sort of time frame, and so I wanted to take the reins back and get in front of it, get in the ground and start searching.
Awesome, man. All right. And so you're getting a phone call from an agent. Are you sure? Is this a bit much?
Yeah.
That's a very unusual phone call.
Very, very unusual. And I had a pretty good relationship with her. And so, but it was a hairy deal because it was a deceased estate. And again, I've never heard of this across the board, but it was split between 7 children. There must have obviously been some fights throughout it. And so they intended to start carrying out renovations, and they had got into the property and basically just started ripping everything apart, and some arguments must have happened and never moved forward with it and just end up pushing through with the sale. And so that's where I was able to scoop up a bit of a deal on my side and played into that the property had been pulled apart to a certain degree, and that they left all their personal belongings there as well. And I said, look, I'm just going to buy it as is and I'll carry out the works myself.
Did you have any issues with probate?
No issues with probate. It had luckily gone through all of that beforehand, but yeah, that is quite a lengthy process.
Generally, when there's that many people involved, it normally goes to auction.
Yeah.
And there's usually just because the agent's like, I don't want to deal with everyone's opinion, let the market decide. The fact that you had a good enough relationship with this agent for her to go, all right, I'm going to deal with a little bit of the madness for you. And this is what, off market or still on market?
Yeah, off market. Yep.
Off market.
Yep.
Okay. It's a good relationship, man. How long have you been talking?
Yeah, it honestly been several months that I'd been cultivating these relationships in that market, carrying out my own DD and connecting with them, and yeah.
Awesome. All right, so now the portfolio is then sitting at just a touch over $3 million, $3,032,000.
Yep.
5 rentals.
Yep.
Wage is still the same by mid-24?
Correct. Wage is still the same. Yep.
All right, so you're doing a ton of work on this property. Okay, so you're adding a bit of value along the way as well. How is this changing portfolio value, rental incomes? Like, tell me a little bit more about the story.
Yeah, definitely. So I saw the value for it as is. I could see comparables selling around that sort of 500K mark. Even with this one sort of being left in shambles from that side of just being pulled apart, sort of just starting off a reno, I knew that the value was there, and so picked it up for 446. It was worth about 500, but it was also time to roll up the sleeves again, fly into state, this time with my tools, and carry out the renovations myself, just because again I couldn't afford to have trades come through and carry out all the works. So flew up there for the week. Again, being tight with money at the time, I went to the local Target or whatever was up there, and
inflatable mattress.
Inflatable mattress,
Love
mate.
it. Yeah. Slept
in the living room on the tiles, and mate was putting in crazy hours. There probably would have been 10 hours worth of sleep through the entire week. It was, mate. I repainted the house. Obviously, did all the electrical, plumbing fixtures, carpeted blinds, did the whole lot when I was up there, mate.
How good.
So yeah. Force a bit of value on that, and again, as you'll see, we got a good value on that as well.
And so what did the portfolio end up looking like after that, as far as cash flow, like the total rental income and the whole value?
Put about $20,000 into the renovation on that one as well, and that ended up renting out straight away for $530 a week, which was awesome. There's some more extra levers I can pull on this property as well. It's a granny flat side as well. It's got side access, huge block as well.
Nice.
So I've always got that up the sleeve if I ever did want to pull that lever, but yeah, straight away rented $530 a week.
That's fantastic. So rental income as a total for the portfolio, $127,920 per annum. So, and again, this is another really interesting thing that you've got to bear in mind, especially when you're a little bit fresher and you're still learning everything as far as portfolio growth is concerned. Justin's got a wage of $104,000 at this stage, but there's literally $127,000 a year coming in. So the way the banks are looking at you, really, there's a little bit more complexity, but to overly simplify it, about $230,000 a year of income coming in. This is one of the other big things that helps with the serviceability.
Yeah, and just to touch on that as well, you can see that I'm chasing assets that are in the 2 to 3, sort of 400K price bracket. I had to play into that because of my salary. And a big part that I realized is that you can't go down and chase growth specifically or cash flow specifically. This is something that people miss out on all the time, where they focus too heavily on one or the other. If you're looking to build a scalable portfolio, you need a balance between growth and cash flow. Awesome thing about these properties was the longer you hold them, obviously you get the markets move, as well as values increase, your rents increase as well. And so for the most part, these properties are very marginally out of pocket to hold each year. And that was obviously helping building the portfolio moving forward, because if you're going out there buying heavily negatively geared properties, like I said at the start, property is a game of finance. You need to keep the banks happy. And if you're hugely out of pocket each week or each year, your journey's going to be over before it really even starts.
Yeah, or you just need to start earning a ton of money in your job to start offsetting it.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, man. So now your portfolio now, you're negative by, what is it, like 15, 16 grand a year?
Yeah, circa about 15 grand a year holding the 5 properties.
So, and you're now 25 years old, just turned 25 recently.
Yeah.
And so the total portfolio now sits at $3,092,000.
Correct.
Okay. And this is across several states. So we've got New South Wales, Queensland, WA, Queensland. Mate, you've built this from starting on $10 an hour, then saving up as much money as you can. You are continuously saving. And this is one of the other real big keys, I think, with Justin's story is you haven't saved once, gone, that's done.
Yep.
You've saved and then gone, okay, I'm going to make this a piece of my personality. I'm now going to continue to save, continue to invest, because a lot of the time, and I've talked about this on the show before, I had the savings aspect when I was younger. I never understood the investing aspect. And if you just have one of them, it's good. But if you have both of them, that's when you can supercharge things.
Yep.
And it's obviously what you've done now as a young man that is kicking some serious goals, man. Where if you and I sit down in another 5 years, let's say we sit down in 2030, tell me about the Justin Bonello story then. What have you achieved?
It's just to continue scaling out the portfolio. That is the goal. What I've realized is that the goalposts continuously move as you build, and as you start to hit these goals along the way, they do move further and further away. And so for me, mate, it's just to build on it as we go. Originally, the goal was just to replace my wage income, so circa about that $100,000. But once you start building it and you realize what is possible, they move a little bit further and further away. And so that $100,000 quickly turned into $250,000, and then before you know it, that's moving along as well.
Because what do you got now? Like around $1 million in equity all up? Because your debt's just under 2?
Yep. Sitting around $1 million worth of equity, yep.
Have you celebrated yet?
Celebrated at property 5. That was a big milestone. Yeah, I think the next one will be property number 10, but 5 was a big milestone, yeah.
Love it, man. For anyone that's listening now, what's the action step? What's something they can pull out their headphones and put into practice straight away?
The biggest thing is discipline. Discipline really is the shortcut when it comes to that side.
How do you action step that though? Because like to say you need discipline, how do you give someone discipline? Yeah,
it's a bit of a multi sort of pronged sort of answer from that side. Again, you need the discipline part, but how can you have discipline without a reasoning behind it or a goal from that side as well? So start with a goal in mind, work from the end and then work your way backwards and reverse engineer that, right? And then that'll give you something to work towards, and then you can obviously build that in and then move forward that way.
Okay. So without the discipline, none of this is happening.
Discipline is what's going to get you your first property. Discipline is what's going to keep you on track to actually build the portfolio, and then discipline is going to keep you going when the times get tough. So without that, it is really hard to build the portfolio.
For you, it's really like every area. Like you and I were having a bit of a chat about diet, gym, all kinds of stuff. Like you don't just have discipline in property. You live it, breathe it across each aspect.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Pretty structured lifestyle from that side, and it just keeps me on track.
Well, mate, I don't reckon you're going to have a very good answer for my final question then. Justin Bonello, I need to ask you the most important question. What is your favourite pizza?
Mate, for me, keeping it in line, it's a homemade pizza. We're not going out for it.
Of course not.
And I love any cold meats. So for me, prosciutto, bit of mozzarella, bit of rocket. Mate, that's it for me.
Is the base on special as well?
It's just on Lebanese bread. Keep it simple, thin, crispy.
I meant like the Coles and Woolies yellow stickers.
Oh, yeah. I don't do the shopping, but yeah.
Oh, mate, that's a bit of a thing with Bianca and I. She will actually appreciate a gift more if I buy it cheaper. I remember once I got her some diary or something like that. It was I think it was like a pregnancy journal, and this is years ago. And it was like down from $60 to $15.
Yep.
And the lady was like peeling off the sticker. I'm like, no, leave it on.
Give it over. Yeah.
And she did. She looked at it. She's like, oh my God, $15. What a bargain.
Yeah.
I could just picture you being something similar of like, oh my God, this was only $2?
Yeah.
Mate, your story is going to inspire a lot of people, both younger and older, because I think it doesn't matter if you're in your late teens, if you're in your mid-20s, if you're in your 30s, 40s. Right now, what you've achieved, mate, is replicatable. The markets aren't the same. The price points aren't the same. But the value, the lessons, the discipline, the savings, the continuing to invest, this is the same. This doesn't change. And it's something that I think if you really think about this, you listen to this interview again, you're going to pick up several nuggets of gold from this man that you can implement. And it's actually one of the reasons that I wanted to chat with you, Justin, because there was no magical thing that it's like, you don't have to be a certain height, a certain background that you've come from, like something that you can't change. If you don't have any of these skill sets or these traits, you can acquire them.
That's it.
You can become more disciplined. You can learn how to save. Whereas I think it's usually that story that sometimes we tell ourselves that it's for other people. Whereas you've very much shown a path of, even if it's not what you've got right now, it's what you can have if you're willing to do these things to get there.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree. And look, to probably close it out is, look, a formal education will get you paid, but self-education will make you a fortune. And so education is obviously a huge piece in that, and you want to build your team around that, and you want to work with people who want to see you succeed.
Man, I can't top that as an ending. Justin Bonello, thank you so much for jumping on the show, man.
Awesome. Cheers, Todd.